Hi mamas. Hi mamas, you are joining me for our beginners stretch routine for hip achiness and pain. So a lot of mums will come to me in the clinic and certainly as pregnancy progresses will complain of that achiness, that soreness on the sides of the hip bones themselves through here. So I'm going to take you through a beginner's routine, beginner's stretch routine to help you combat those aches and pains. The aches and pains occur because we have hormones running through our bodies at levels that we hadn't previously, going up and down and fluctuating as Bubby grows and all of the things. One of them is called relaxin. That begins in the first trimester. The release of that begins in the first trimester, and its job is to relax connective tissue. So that includes things like ligament tissue, certainly includes muscular tissue, tendons, and obviously other connective tissues like fascia. Now, what you might not know is that connective tissue in the body is extremely important. It creates tension, creates contractibility that allows joints to stay together and muscles where they attach to be nice and taut and tight. And so when it becomes more lax, hence relaxin, or when it becomes more relaxed, hence the name relaxin, what we'll find is that that connective tissue is much more, it stretches so much more easily. The give of that connective tissue is so much more pliable. Now, the point of that is that you are making space in your abdomen for a baby. And as your body makes space for a baby, you need to have that pliability, that flexibility in the relaxin, from the relaxin, sorry, in your connective tissue, so that joints can widen a little bit, so that muscle tendons where they attach can elongate a little bit, so that ligaments that hold joints together can stretch, and then so the connective tissue, say between the muscles in the center, can open to make enough space for your baby to grow. So it's extremely important in pregnancy and as we make room for our babies, and certainly in the labor and the birth, as our body moves and molds around this baby to move baby out and through. However, when you are lying on your side, for example, in bed, that pressure now that we're experiencing as we rotate from one side to the other, because we can't lie on our backs or our stomachs anymore, that pressure can create that real tenderness across that ligament tissue, particularly in the hip, where there is a lot of ligaments that surround the hip joint itself to hold it in. So we get a lot of tenderness and soreness here. And what I have found is that if you're stretching and opening through this part of the pelvis regularly, that you can really mitigate some of that nighttime pain and tension. And also it gives you tools that if in the night you are getting particularly sore, it is waking you up from your sleep and you aren't able to get comfortable, you will now have some skills in your toolbox to use throughout the night to get you through. So we're going to begin by doing a dynamic warm-up. That's really important not to stretch cold. When we stretch cold, that's when we can hurt ourselves. So I'll get you to just stand. Again, this is beginners, so we're not trying to jump into something that's extreme and have one leg up here and the other one up here and fly around like perfect yoga bunny. So instead, we're going to keep it nice and relaxed. We're just going to warm up in a dynamic way first, meaning warming up with movement. So really circle the hips right around. You can do this stretch routine, say, after you've gone for a walk, or you may choose to do this stretch routine at the end of the day. Sometimes in the morning, you're going to feel a lot stiffer and tighter than you would at the end of the day. So you may not be able to lean into the stretches as much. You can do it multiple times a day, of course. See what your body needs, but don't do it 6 times a day to begin. Just start with one and see how you fare the next day. So just really warming up the hips so you're going one way and then the other. Do that again. You'll feel it, some tenderness in the hips as you push out to the sides, most likely. A little bit of extra stretch there. Don't mind me huffing and puffing. I am pregnant, so talking and moving is a challenge. Okay. Side to side there, nice and gently. All right. And then if you have a chair, which you should, just close by, we are going to use it. Just going to roll the hips out a couple of times. You can use that spare hand if you need to just guide your leg and in. You might feel a little bit of clicking as you move. That most likely indicates some tightness in your hip flexor. I'm going to turn this way so I can hold the chair. So you're just rotating the leg out and around. We're not moving our whole bodies to do this. We're just using the hip joint. We're not trying to move our whole bodies to move our hips. Otherwise, we won't be isolating the movement there. So the other way. All right. Now, to begin, once you feel a bit warm there, the glutes are a bit switched on, we're going to come first into a wide squat position. So your feet are going to be wider than your hips. And then from here, we're going to come down into the squat and stick your bottom out, using your arms for support and just holding that nice stretch. We're not trying to go all the way to the floor. We want to stay at half. We want to be really cautious that we're not putting too much tension and pressure through a pubis, the joint at the front of the body, and then our sacroiliac joints, these joints here at the back. That makes up the main three joints of our pelvic girdle. We want to make sure that we're not putting a huge amount of pressure through those if stretch is not something that our bodies are used to us doing. And just rocking, you should feel a little bit of a stretch in the groin line on both sides, pushing the knees out gently. We're not in a parallel squat here. We're in a nice wide squat where the knees are pointing out. Just rocking from side to side. Again, apologies for the puffing. Nothing I can do about it. Okay, you should feel a bit of a burn in the quads. That's normal. Really trying to push the knees out, get that stretch through the front of the groin. Okay. If you were to look from the side, so you're going to keep going here, you really do have your bum out the back. You're not here. That would be an incorrect position. Really, that will just burn the quads like nothing else. You're really trying to put your bum out the back there. Using your arms for support. If you're feeling good there, you can come down to elbows, but we're not dropping the bum. The bum stays up in the air. Rocking from side to side there. Ooh. Like this. Like this. It's just going to complete your dynamic warm-up and start to open the pelvis a little, wiggle around. Okay, the first stretch that we're going to hold, you're going to have your chair next to you. I might bring myself back here just so I'm in line with my mat. And you're going to stand next to your chair, placing your leg up on the chair. Now, you'll notice that my back foot is pointing toward you. I would like you to do the same. And the front foot is pointing up or toes up to the ceiling so that you're actually creating a right angle. From here, nice and tall through the body, the spine stays straight and the head stays on top of the shoulders. We're just going to gently lean over that leg. Now, where you should begin to feel this is in the hamstring and a little bit in the adductor. Whew. Keeping the knees straight here, toes to the roof. Leaning in as much as you feel comfortable there. And then coming back out. We're going to do it again. We're going to bend this knee here first. And what you should notice is that you feel the pull in the adductor much sooner. Now, you don't need to keep the toes back here. You can release them. They should really relax through the foot. Holding that stretch, that'll be both a little bit hamstring and some adductor. I'm always surprised at how puffed I get. I'm so used to speaking and moving, but pregnancy gets me. Which is normal. Okay. Holding that there. And then coming up. And you're going to do the other side. I'm going to turn around to give you the different angle of the stretch. Legs come up, both straight to begin, toes to the roof. Other toes are going to be heading straight to the back wall. Straight spine with the head stacked on top, and you're just leaning straight over the leg, getting that stretch right down through the leg with toes to the roof. Holding that there for a second. We're not pushing here. You can just rest your hand there if you like, or let it hang, hold it here, or do this, whatever you want. I'm not pushing the knee down. Okay. And then coming back out of there, bending that bottom leg. And what you should notice is you really start to feel, releasing the foot, really start to feel the inside of the other thigh, that adductor. You just hold that there. Now I'm showing you the short version. Ideally, and if you really do want to feel symptom change, you're going to get your head around the routine by doing it with me a few times. And then you're going to make sure that you're holding these stretches for much longer than I am, 1 minute to 2 minutes, each leg, each stretch. The next one we're going to be doing a standing hip flexor. So you're going to bring one leg up on the chair, the other leg back. The most important part is from here, you're going to really tuck your bum under. We really want to feel a bit of a tug, a bit of a pull through that straight leg hip flexor. And from here, we're just gently going to lean forward a little bit. But if we let the bum go, you're not going to feel anything. If you let the lower back extend, you're not going to feel anything. You really need to go really straight through the body, tuck the hip, the pelvis under as much as you can, like you're trying to take your tailbone to the floor, and then lean forward from there, leading with the hip. So that you're opening the front of the hip and feeling a bit of a pull through the groin, through the hip flexor itself. Now, if you would like to exaggerate the stretch or you need more, you can push further forward, making sure that you're leading with your hip and you're not leading with your stomach. You need to lead with the front of the hip or the groin. On top of that, you can take that same arm as leg up to the sky, slightly behind you. Now, if you like as well, you lean away from that side and you'll really open up through this whole hip flexor. But please be careful not to do this quickly because you don't want to strain your stomach muscles. They are already stretched, especially if you're in the end of second/third trimester. So just going slowly and finding where your tolerance or threshold is for these different stretches. All of us have a different ability or flexibility through different muscles here, so you want to be really careful. You would hold that there. You would obviously hold it for longer. And then coming out of that stretch, same, but the exact other side. So leg comes up, being really careful to make sure the most important part to make it even worth your time and effective is tucking that tailbone down toward the floor, leading with your groin. So for me, this will be my left side, but whatever side you're on, leaning forward. Now you will find that one side will be tighter than the other. It's very normal. It means that you don't use your body perfectly symmetrically, which is true for every single human. We are not ambidextrous in every movement we do every day. Bringing that same arm as leg up if you want the additional stretch. Slightly behind you and away. Gently, carefully. So if one side is tighter, you can focus on that side a little bit more. You can spend more time there. You might do the tight side, do the less tight side, and then come back to the tight side and just do that once more to give it a bit more TLC as you move through the routine. Okay, so you would hold that for longer there. Gently coming off of the chair. Then you're going to turn the chair toward, well, you could just sit on it basically. You don't need to film yourself, although that's good feedback. And then from here, we're going to be doing what's called the figure 4 stretch. We're going to be really getting into the backs of the glutes here, hip capsule. So sitting on the edge of the chair, so what that will look like, I'll move this out of the way to show you. What that will look like is being here. If you start back here, especially if you're vertically challenged like myself, we're not going to be able to get the best position. We're not going to be able to control our position as well. So you're going to be sitting on the edge of the chair. Your back needs to be straight. If we do the stretch like this, where we're rounded both through the pelvis and through the upper body, we're going to take the pressure out of the stretch. We're going to take because we'll be changing our position, we're not going to create as an effective stretch as we would have. Now from here, I'm going to turn back to you. From here, it's called figure 4 because you're making the number 4. So essentially we want to get into this position here, but let me show you why or how. So one leg is straight, the other one, the ankle, goes over the knee, not on the kneecap. That's really uncomfortable. And you can see here, whether it's the reverse or correct, I've made the number 4 with my legs. And the 4 will be facing away from you, but it's a good way to remember it. Then you bring that bottom leg in so it's bent. Keep that ankle on that bent knee and sit really tall. Now, if you do this well and you're tight, you will likely already feel a stretch in this position. I do. And that's okay. You just stay there. You don't need to push it. What this looks like from the side is this. Sitting really tall. You will feel this in the hip or the back of the butt cheek of the bent knee. It'll be a bit diffuse. It's not necessarily going to hit one spot. You might find a little bit of it in the groin. You might find a little bit in the glute. From here, keeping a tall back, you can lean forward into the stretch. Now, if that starts to make the stretch feel really diffuse and sore all the way around, that is the only time I would suggest beginning tall and then letting that lower back round a little bit to lean forward and see if you can get that stretch in the glute. But if you can get it by just sitting tall, I'd recommend keeping with that figure 4 stretch. And then you would swap over, bringing the other leg up, sitting nice and tall through the body. Your hands can be wherever is comfortable. We're not trying to push and pull. We just want to stay as tall as possible and just making sure the leg doesn't fall off, basically. So I'm just making sure my leg doesn't slip off my leg, my bent knee, my grounded foot, I should say. Sitting really tall and holding that. And if you want to lean forward with the straight back from here, you can to increase the stretch. And that's for figure 4. And this is a great one for doing at the desk if you're at work. All of them would be great to do at work, but sometimes there's no place that's appropriate, unfortunately. Okay, and we have one more. Now you're going to be holding each of these for longer, like I said, up to 2 minutes. With the last one, you do need a soft surface floor or a mat, just for your knees. And I'll just make sure that that's straight for my brain and your brain. There we go. Okay, so you're going to come to a tabletop position. So in yoga, that's knees about hip width apart and hands directly under the shoulders so that your hips are over your knees and your shoulder is over your wrist. From here, we're going to move the front knee into the center, try and show you, and turn in, and then let the other knee fall behind. Now, this shouldn't be sore. This should be a very comfortable position here. So I'm going to show you that again. So from this nice tabletop position, take one knee to the center and slightly forward. Lift the other one out of the way. Turn the leg across your body and then drop the other knee behind. From here, we're going to take that hip to the wall behind you, or to your, let's do our right, to the right. Without moving your knees or your hands, you're just going to lean, leading with that hip. And what you should find is a very localized stretch feeling in the hip joint itself. If you can't feel that there, it might mean that you've rounded your back too much and you're leaning like this. You have to let your tummy muscles go and your back extend. So if you're holding, it's not going to work for you. So hold this position first. Relax the lower back, or you could say, let the belly fall to the floor. You may already start to feel the stretch now, just simply from extending your lumbar spine. And then you're going to lean toward the same side as that hip. And you'll feel that very specific pull right over the hip joint. What we're stretching here is the ligament capsule of the hips. And you would hold this for up to 2 minutes. It feels pretty sharp. It doesn't feel like a muscle type of stretch because it isn't, but it can really reduce some of the tension that you're feeling in your lower back and your hips. So holding that for a little while, bringing the other leg in and forward. Move this one out of the way. Turn your ankle across. Drop that leg back down, releasing the lower back, let the tummy fall to the floor, and leaning to the same side as the hip you're stretching. You'll feel that in that hip, and holding that up for up to 2 minutes. Don't forget to breathe. When we do our stretch classes here, breath is one of the most important things that we use alongside movement to really help our brains to stop having so much to say. Oh my gosh, this hurts so much, what are you doing? But instead, breath in, breath out, relaxing into the stretch. And then when you're finished with that one, that's the lot. And you can reuse those 5, holding each side, like I said, for up to 2 minutes. What we just did is too fast. You won't experience a huge benefit from that. But if you were to hold each stretch for longer and practice by doing it once a day, preferably in the afternoon to begin with, so your body is already warm, making sure you're doing that dynamic warm up at the beginning. And then you can add it throughout the day or pick and choose the different stretches that you feel really help you. And good luck with the remainder of your pregnancy, and I hope for you for better sleep.